I'm with Jack Flaherty in the sense of, like, look at last year with the wild card game. I know that Jack Flaherty was banged up. He was really good early in the year. But you had the one-game wild card, and you didn't use him. I understand it's a bit of an unknown, but he was so good last time. He struck out 9 guys. He was throwing 97 into the 6th inning. He's also a guy that I don't want the series to end and have not used him. Mm-hmm. That's how much I value his stuff. So I think, look, I'm 100% in unison with Michaelis game 1, Quintana game 2. If Flaherty's good again, I would throw him game 3. But I would also say, man, if there's trouble and I need long relief and the game's still close, I may still want to go to Flaherty in a game 1, game 2 situation.
I think that what happens in game 1 is going to tell you what happens the rest of the way in game 2. Just like all the rest of these games, how people show. I think you're still in a little bit of an audition, what do you got mode with folks right now. So some of these next starts, Flaherty goes to today, correct? I mean tomorrow.
They're off, yeah.
Tomorrow. And that's going to be that's going to be telling. That's going to be that's going to be an important outing for him.
If you look at his last outing, he was okay, and then he was really good. You remember, like, you get guys on base, and he strikes out 3 straight guys. That's vintage Jack Flaherty. That's, I think, what we all want to see for the postseason. Will we see that in his next start? If we do, then I think that's him. The other guy, Montgomery has gotten hit around a little bit. His last start, they hit him up in the zone, which he said is command. They hit good pitches. He's been really good. That's why I'm kind of bullish on the Cardinals in this round of the playoffs, because unlike a lot of teams, the Cardinals have a lot of options. Like if you think about it, like Dak has been good out of the bullpen if you need a few innings. Matz wasn't great yesterday, but I think he's a good guy to have. They have, decisions to make, but it's not like they're trying to figure out which is the lesser of these guys. They have good options, and I don't know if a lot of teams at this point in the season have that.
Yeah, they have a lot of options. That's where it would not surprise me one bit if the Cardinals make a nice run in this postseason. And I think they're better set up for a longer series than a lot of these teams are. That can look, it's daunting when you roll out DeGrom, Scherzer, repeat, and they don't have the Mets. They got more than that. They got Bassett, Walker, but the Cardinals have 5 starters. If Adam Wainwright gets back to just a guy you can count on, as you get into a 5-game series, 7-game series, I love the Cardinals' rotation depth. That's why I think these are hard decisions, because I do think that Michaelis and Quintana have separated themselves to that 1-2 spot. But you can make the case for Montgomery, for Flaherty. You could certainly make the case for Waino if you didn't have the dead arm.
Yeah, you've got 3 different things that are going on in your rotation right now. You got 2 guys that are in Michaelis and Quintana. Just figure out which order you're going to roll them out. Kat, I agree with you. I think I would go Michaelis game 1. I think that there's a little bit of past current, ace status, whatever you'll call that's there. A little bit of earned right there. And then Quintana, because I would love for Michaelis to be able to go out and work 5 or 6 in one game. He'll go out and pitch for as long as you'll have him. And then that allows you to save a little pin to go shorter with Quintana in game 2. I like the idea of that. But you got those 2 guys. You got Flaherty, who's a wild card. What are you going to get? Is it going to be him? Is it not? And then you got Waino on the backside and Montgomery. And you're kind of like, we don't know. But in the first round, in this 3-game series, that's brand new territory for that, you can't waste a second of that thing. You got to be full gas the whole time.
And one of the guys that I like the Cardinal bullpen. I like where they are. I give Ollie Marmol a lot of credit in that, there was some criticism about Helsley and, they're not using him right and everything. He's at the end of the season. He's had a really good season, and he's throwing 104 now. Mm-hmm. I like that for the postseason.
Is that good?
I like Zach Thompson. I think he's emerged as a guy that I think will be a key guy out of the bullpen for the Cardinals. So I like everything. But if you ask me what it may all boil down to, I think it may boil down to Nolan getting hot and Goldie getting back on track. Because let's be honest, what's going on with the offense? Their offense is...
It's dependent on those 2 guys being
right.
going.
And it's been a bit of a down spot for them. Those guys got to get going. If you can get those guys going with what you have with your starters and your bullpen, I think it's going to be a long run.
I also think if you look at the way the Brewers in previous postseasons used Hader, where they strategically kind of wanted to use him multiple innings, then a rest day, and then bring him back, I think you're going to see that with Ryan Helsley. And you even saw that in some of these big series against good teams, where if the game lined up correctly, Marmol could go to Helsley for 2 innings if it was the first game of that series, if it worked out this way, rest day, and then could bring him back for 1 inning. And that's where I think if you could map out game 1 in a perfect way, if Miles Mikolas, if he can give you 5, even 6, even if he gives you 5, it's not an issue because your bullpen's rested. But I would think ideally, Ollie would like to use Helsley for 2 innings in that first game. And so really you're only trying to cover an inning or 2 unless Mikolas has a really bad start, which is also a possibility in the playoffs, let's be real, because, look, there's little margin for error. So these guys are going to get pulled early.
So with that being said, you got 28 guys that are on right now. Who are the folks that aren't making your postseason roster? Who do you not see a place for right now based on, the variety of things you're going to need?
Well, first round, Waino could be off the wild card roster. You might just say, hey, we're gonna skip you. We're gonna wait until the DS.
Okay. Who else? Do we go 27 or 26 in the wild card? Because they're carrying 28 right now.
I think one of the intriguing guys, and Danny brought this up, DeLuzio, because there are a couple of wild cards. So with Tyler O'Neill, I'd like him to be part of it. He's got the hamstring. So he's been doing baseball activities in St. Louis, as I was told by John Mozeliak, including some running. And since there's no minor league system left, minor league to go rehab, what they're going to do is they're going to ramp up his baseball activities so it's live situation baseball activities, to try to see if he's ready to go where they can just put him in the lineup. If they don't have Tyler O'Neill, then you wonder, okay, what do we do do we need DeLuzio on the roster? A guy who can play defense, run. I think he had a couple of hits last night. Really fast guy. And is there a place for him? There's a lot of intriguing things. And then the other guy who's on the IL right now, who supposedly has a shot. But first of all, what Mozeliak said about Tyler O'Neill, I said, does he have a shot at being back for the postseason? And he said he does, but the clock is ticking.
Mm-hmm.
With Jordan Hicks, who I think would be a very valuable piece if he's healthy, he's going to start throwing a couple of side sessions when they get home. I don't know, maybe even today at the stadium, I don't know, to see where he is because they can't really assess because he hasn't really thrown bullpens or anything yet. But that's another intriguing piece.
I like a fast guy. Nice weapon, end of the game, pinch run situation.
Yeah.
I think there's value there.
And DeLuzio.
In having that speed weapon.
Tyler O'Neill coming back into the picture does change things. I think that adds even another option where you look at how many guys do you carry on your bench. Right now they're carrying 4. I think with the DH in play, you probably only need 5. You're carrying 5, you only need 4 if you're going to have the right guys in the mix there. And I think DeLuzio is a great point because he can play up the middle. He can defensively cover you there. You need speed. You need to bring somebody in. Let's say you get into a key spot. You got Albert on second or something like that. You need to knock someone in. You need that. And he's got a unique tool there with that. The part that I start to look at and wonder how it works out is the rest of the pen. I think Jordan Hicks is a good piece of the pie that I look at there, but I look at, Dakota Hudson's in the mix down there right now.
I like that.
You've got Matt's in the mix right now. You've got Palante in the mix right now. They're all kind of playing in the same sandbox together. But then you've got Jake Woodford, who I've liked how he's looked when he's been out there. You've got Zach Thompson, Romero. How many lefties do you carry? There's a little bit of a, I don't want to say an embarrassment of riches, but there's certainly a lot of options here that can get you through a lot of different situations.
That's why I think the Cardinals are in a really good position because that's kind of how we started. They do have good options. Another guy, apparently, I haven't seen it, but I read about it, Genesis Cabrera, who apparently has his velocity back when he was finishing up at Memphis. I saw that guy, he's throwing, 93 miles an hour, a guy who's usually 98, 99. And he also looked to me like he lost a lot of weight, like he he wasn't right. So if he got right and he is close to what he was before, he could be a piece. They got to evaluate that. There's a lot of good options.
Hopefully he didn't catch a little bit of the club flu. Had to get that out of his system and then get back up there.
I'm not a doctor, but he had the COVID. And you do see people dealing with, and I'm not saying this is it at all, but it's
fair.
A guess. But they talk about the long haulers with COVID. We saw that with, who was the outfielder that was
Lane Thomas.
Lane Thomas, right? I mean, he had it, and then he was over it, and he came back, and he didn't look like the same guy that he was before COVID. And I think he said he had some lingering effects from it. I wonder, people react differently to it. Maybe like a guy like Hennessis needed a little bit more time to get strong again.
Are the Brewers going to clip the Phillies?
So the Phillies aren't playing well right now.
They are not.
They are backpedaling. I think I'd rather play the Brewers. Everyone talks about their great rotation, and I get it, especially in a short series. I don't think they have a deep bullpen.
Nope.
And I think that lineup, if I had to pick a lineup I wanted to face, I would pick their lineup. Now, that could come back and bite me, and all of a sudden, Rowdy Tellez hits 4 homers in a 3-game. Could happen. I just think their lineup is not good. And I said this at the beginning of the season. Their starting rotation is really good, and this is before the deal with Hader, and Hader was unhittable at that time. Certainly changed the dynamic for that team. But when I look at the lineup right now, even if they had, the starting pitching was as good as it seemed to be earlier, they've run into some injuries, and you never have enough starting pitching. We've said this on this show, even when you think you have enough. So I just didn't think they had enough offense to get them through if the starting rotation faltered. And the truth is, if Yelich is Yelich, that's a vastly different lineup.
Yeah.
But because of his back issues, I'm not sure. But to be honest, he's just a guy now. He's not Yelich. And that makes him a totally different team. And that lineup with him not being Yelich is really basic.
So I don't disagree with that. The Brewers are going to be hosting the Miami Marlins this weekend, while the Phillies are going to be where you at. They're heading to the Washington Nationals. So some advantageous matchups for both of them to capitalize on right there and to try to get through. Who are we rooting for? If you're in St. Louis, who should you be getting behind? I'm sorry, after that, the Diamondbacks for the hangover series from the lockout. The Diamondbacks come to Milwaukee early next week, whereas Philadelphia heads to see the Houston Astros to wrap the season up, who don't really have anything to play for, but don't pull the boys off the field either.
Yeah, so Brewers have 4 with the Marlins, 3 with the Diamondbacks, and then the Phillies have to stuff all these games into the final weeker because they still have to finish up with the Cubs today. So they don't have an off day. So they go Cubs finale, then Nats,
Aren't
which,
the
by
Phillies
the way,
on the road the rest of the way?
Yes. It also includes a double dip on Saturday versus the Nationals.
Yeah.
So that's a 4-game series after the Cubs finale, and then you have 3 more with the Astros. So Phillies have some work to do.
That's a journey. And if you got a team that's packed that many games into the end of the year that's coming in, maybe you're not seeing the best version of them. They did just add Nick Castellanos back off an IL stint, and I think he went 3 for 4 last night. So that's yet another thing you got to account for in that lineup. I don't know about you all. For me, I said a while back, I hate to play a team that I've seen a ton of times already. There's just, it levels it out a bit when you're playing against a divisional team. But looking at that lineup, looking at the threats that are there, the people that can change things in one at bat, go Brewers. Figure it out. I want the Brewers to get on top of the Phillies and just deal with that. I'm okay dealing with Corbin Burns and Woodruff and those guys because you're going to have a chance to hold their lineup down and put the weight on your bat still.
Yeah, and that could come back and bite you because you said
it'll be both of us. We'll go together.
Yeah, I just don't think the bullpen is deep. I don't think the lineup is scary, and right now they basically have 2 scary starters. Yeah, I'll take the Brewers.
And here's the good thing about whoever the Cardinals play. So if you're Phillies, they finish with 10 games in 9 days, and then you look at the Brewers playing 7 straight. You would think, because right now the Phillies have a half-game lead. you would think that that's going to go down to the final game or two of whoever decides that final wild card spot. What is good for the Cardinals is I don't think the Phillies or the Brewers will be able to set up their rotation at all because they're probably going to have to play right till game 162 to get in. So you're probably not going to be able to set up, we want Wheeler game one, we want Nola, or if it's Brewers, Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff. You might have to bring these guys out of the pen in a game 162 just to get to the playoffs.
Right, but the difference is, and this is the scary part because it's baseball, you never know, but one of those teams gets really hot and you face a red-hot team after you've been getting kind of an end-of-the-season steady diet of the Pirates. You know, that's not ideal either if you're the Cardinals.
When you look at those offenses, I just want to see how they went up against each other because they're talking about one lineup against the next. The Phillies have scored 12 more runs all year than the Brewers, and the Brewers have actually out-homered the Phillies, which is surprising, by nearly 20. Now, that is what it is, but, when I look at a postseason, a team I want to play against is a team that you want to try to not deal with a big instant offense team that can swing the momentum really quickly. I don't know. Maybe they're a little bit closer off than I originally thought they were, but still, based off just what you're looking at, who's trending in what direction, I would much rather see the team that you just left with the Brewers
I agree.
than to go and see that Phillies team, no matter what kind of slide or momentum they're coming into.
And plus, sometimes your past experience can scar you. I also remember that Schwarber baseball just sitting up when he hit it again when he was with the Cubs, just sitting there at Wrigley.
Segrist.
Yeah, and I think it still sits there to this day. And let's be honest, like Schwarber's got a lot of homers, but you can pitch to him.
Yeah,
right? He's a 220 hitter
he's
or whatever
he's
he is.
Dave Kingman.
But he's had good moments against the Cardinals, and anyone who has power can be scary. And based on track record, he scares me a little bit.
And that's where, when you look at the Milwaukee Brewers lineup on paper, it just doesn't scare you. And Yelich is not MVP Yelich. You look at that lineup, and you do think, I can attack that lineup. And you look at the Phillies, some of the names do scare you. But hey, Goldschmidt, Arenado, Pujols will also scare them. But when you look at the Phillies lineup from last night, they're rolling out Schwarber at leadoff, Rhys Hoskins, Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto. You got Baum, Castellanos. I mean, that's a pretty deep
good lineup.
Pretty deep lineup with a lot of power. Even Gene Segura is pretty good late there in the lineup. That's a pretty strong lineup. There's a lot of guys who can do damage there.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I'd rather face Rowdy.
The only guy that scares me on that team is Willie Adames, which is crazy. You'd think as good as Yelich was.
That's reasonable, though. He's killed them this year.
But that's it.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only guy that you really fear in that lineup. I will say this. It was, Ali trotted out that lineup yesterday, which I enjoyed. I think that, but that play that Colton Wong made, that's one of the greatest plays. Is that overstating it? That's one of the greatest plays I've ever seen. Like that erratic toss,
A blooper.
10 feet in the air. I don't know how he caught that and then was able to throw it across his body without even having time to set his throw and get the guy. Am I wrong? Is that?
No, I still have some wonderments about what it would have looked like to have not moved on him, to have Nolan, him, Goldschmidt, and, Goodwin, DeYoung's rolling all in the same infield. That could have been special.
Yeah, don't
No knock against Tommy.
because Tommy's Gold Glover too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, but I mean, Colton Wong was
He's
I thought he had a little something extra defensively, although there's no way that Wong can play short and third and be in the outfield.
No. I think the value of Edman and everything he brings, especially for what this team needs with not having anything close to a solidified shortstop situation, is important. But Colton Wong is right there with Tommy Hurt for the conversation for the best defensive second baseman in St. Louis history. And I don't think that that's an overstatement to look at both of them together.
I agree with that. We saw a highlight reel, from that guy pretty much, every couple weeks.
And that's the thing. Edman is really, really good. Gold Glove caliber. They also kind of do it differently because Colton Wong, everything he does has a little flair to it. Everything he does just kind of looks a little flashier when you're watching the highlights.
He cuts the pie a little bit.
A little bit. Just the right amount.
Yeah. And I hate to say it, as much as, he's been gone for a while. You talk to him, his eyes still look sad. I think if he could change it, he would be back here in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
He loved being a Cardinal.
Well, it is what it is. But at this point, yeah, I mean, that team is the one. That's the one. If Willie Adames is our big obstacle going into the postseason, I'd rather have that than Bryce Harper, than Castellanos, although a Castellanos postseason boo would be spectacular to get that to come into the ballpark.
How about Woodford versus Castellanos? You can bring back the whole Cincinnati Reds stare down over the home plate situation.
Didn't like that.
I say to bring Woodford in like they used to bring in Rick Mahorn. Bring him in. Just let him get the quick flagrant.
6 fouls.
Set the tone. Let's go. Let's get it out the way. Or like when they let Cam start a game. If you see Cam on the ice when the puck drops, somebody's got a receipt to get.
I enjoy a Rick Mahorn reference, by the way.
More of a Lambeer guy myself, but both of them are great.
This is like totally switching.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Who is the toughest guy in the history of the NBA?
Oh.
Because Mahorn is definitely up
Charles
there.
Charles
Oakley's up there.
Yeah.
Latrell Sprewell.
Well, I mean,
he only chokes coaches.
If choking 5'9" guys is the measure mark. Man, the '94 Knicks, Anthony Mason,
bad man.
Charles Smith, Oakley,
Ben Wallace.
Oh, there's another one. Oh, I mean, if you're talking about the KO team, Steven Jackson's got to be in there. Ron Artest is probably in there.
I'm telling you, pound for pound, Calvin Murphy. I don't know if you ever seen his fights. He's had a couple of fights back in the day.
Yeah, he was 5'8".
Yeah, but he had hands like windmills, man. He could have been a professional fighter.
Got to throw
Rick
Rodman in
Mahorn
there.
is one of those guys too. Marvin Barnes. I think Mason was probably the scariest, but I also am traumatized by having Oakley and Mason on the same team as a Knicks fan, because neither of them could finish around the basket.
No, you were screwed. It was all or nothing. You had a fourth line hockey team. They should have played for the Rangers. They'd been better off if you had Messier and all those guys, Leach, Van Beesbrook, and then Mace and Oakley on the fourth line. That would have been a hell of a combination.
But they could get the ball underneath and couldn't finish. I loved Larry Johnson as a player. But he was an undersized power forward with a bad back.
I loved him.
And he was part of the mix, too. He wasn't ever going to finish around the basket because he couldn't jump by the end of his career.
I loved him. He's a gold-tooth Hall of Famer. Single gold-tooth Hall of Famer. There's a guy in the NBA right now named Steven Adams who picked up a grown man and walked him to half court when he was getting ready to get into a fight.
That's a
last
bad man,
year.
yeah.
And he's a Kiwi. He's from a place where you don't technically usually see basketball players come from, and that's usually a mixture for a guy who's got there off grit and whatever it takes.
Maurice Lucas, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Maurice
he
Lucas.
almost got thrown out the league.
So Jokic, does his brothers, are they MMA guys?
I don't know.
Doesn't Jokic have some brothers that are really tough?
He's got two brothers that were getting ready to fight the Morris twins when Jokic went and did the club in the back to Markeith, I think, last year.
Text line 855-282-8255. The all-knowing expert says the Davis boys from the Indiana Pacers.
Oh, yeah.
That's Antonio Davis and Dale Davis.
Yeah, they were hard-nosed, but they weren't like Maurice Lucas types.
Well, in fairness, Maurice Lucas played at a time where the NBA consisted of and ones, cocaine, and forearms. That was the trio for the late 70s NBA.
Fair enough.
Jack says, how funny would it be if the Phillies, for the Phillies to miss the playoffs yet again? Hunter Renfroe scares me.
Not me.
That's from Jack.
The one from the Raiders? Yes, he scares me. He runs drags across the field and catches away from Devontae Adams.
They got some guys that can run into a homer, though, for sure. The Brewers, they are kind of like Harvey's wall bangers. They just they hit homers, and that's about it.
Yeah, but they're not scary like Harvey Wall.
But they have a lot. They do have a lot of power.
They have power, but they're guys you can pitch to. There's a difference between guys that maybe don't have high averages but have a bunch of homers. These guys are mistake hitters. And like I said, it maybe will come back to bite me. But those guys don't scare me. Yeah, they got, 30 homer power in the middle of their order, but that doesn't scare me.
So are you very confident right now? Very confident about the Redbirds?
Yeah, but they still have 6 more games to play, and who knows what's going to happen in that interim. I'll say it again. The thing that makes me confident now is the pitching is lined up. Guys seem to be in a really good place, and they have a ton of options where even good guys are, not going to be on the postseason roster compared to other teams that are kind of scrambling.
Yeah.
But the downside, the scary side, is that Goldie's not in a good place, and he's been okay. It hasn't been a 0, but he's not been Goldie, and Nolan hasn't been Nolan. And if those guys are hitting, I'm not worried at all. They just got to hit.
You talk about taking pitchers off their feet. Do you take Goldie off his feet for a little while?
They've been trying. Like he was DH
I
yesterday.
mean, he's in there in some capacity every day, though.
I'll be honest. I seen him in the dugout a couple times, like sitting, like I hadn't remembered him, like kind of sitting like a really tired guy. They've given him some days off, and he's pretty good about saying I could use a day. They've DH'd him a bit to get him off his feet. And like yesterday, he was pinch hit for, but he wasn't really, as Ollie explained it, because they just wanted to get him 3 at-bats and get him off his feet, Goldie. So it wasn't Newt pinch hitting for him per se. It was Goldie coming out of the game as prearranged. But, yeah, I mean, get this guy rested, whatever you got to do.
Do we have Randall? Randall?
Hey, how you guys doing there?
What's up?
Jim
Hey.
Cat. Hey, did you get enough drenching of the wine or beer or whatever they poured on you?
I think it was sangria. It was sangria.
Oh, sangria. Okay. Well, you didn't get the burn, did you? Or did you protect yourself?
No, I got the burn. I don't wear goggles in there.
Oh, okay. Hey, we talking about a tough guy. I think Artis Gilmore they said he was silent, but they said if you got him mad, he was like 7'2", about 285. If you got him mad, every players would avoid him. And then also, do you remember that Kermit Washington hit Tomovich in the face and broke his face? And basically, that guy was a tough guy. I mean, he was so erratic they didn't want to get near him. But anyway, let me ask you a question. Who's going to make the decision on these final players on the roster? Is it going to be Mozeliak or DeWitt or Marmello? How much Marmello is going to have?
I think it'll be Marmello, but I honestly think he'll be texting with Charlie. Charlie will probably have some input.
I'm usually the first guy that Mozeliak, Marmello, Ariando. I'm usually the folks that they kind of bounce the first roster off.
I don't blame him.
Well, I'm a baseball guy.
Yeah, but for real, where was the DeWitts in that celebration? I didn't see any of the DeWitts, or were they just kind of staying low? Are they just kind of they didn't feel the burn, or they just want to stay away from Charlie Marlowe's new lineup? Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. They were hoarding their money in the corner, right?
Charlie Marmello's new lineup.
Marmello.
Randy. Good old Randall.
I will say that that celebration was like level 5 is the most active. It was like a 3. It started with a lot of energy, but it didn't last that long. Like after a while, guys were just kind of standing around.
What was it due to that rousing speech that Albert gave where we make a lot of money, but it's good to win, too? I was like, all right, Albert.
He said that?
He threw it in at the end.
Really?
The dollars are good.
Nice.
But the winning is most important. Let's go get a championship.
I thought I watched that whole thing. I did not hear that. I'm going to have to go back and check that out.
And I don't even know, to be honest with you, if that was designed to be public.
I don't think so.
Because, right, so we had as rights holders, we had a 2-minute window. That's fine. Because usually when I go in there, people kind of know what I'm doing, give me a little space. But we had a 2-minute window. So I get in there, slickered up. I know people don't know what a slicker is, including Cam. And there's a security lady, and I said, ma'am, I'm going to go in the lobby and wait because once it goes, we got to go. And she said, who are you?
No.
And I said, I'm Jim. I'm like the sideline guy, and you could check with Bartow, but I got to be in there. And she said, sideline guy, what company is that? I go, I'm with the team broadcast Bally's. She's a St. Louis security person. And I said, yeah, it's Bally's. We carry the games. And she said, well, I'm going to have to check on someone, on this. I said, ma'am, I'm going in, whether you say it's okay or not. Anyway, so we get in there. My camera guy's in there. And no one said that we can't shoot. We're in there waiting for them. Like, we thought by the time they let us in there, then the speeches would be done, the private stuff. So we go in there, and they start giving speeches, and we're already rolling. It's not like an ENG. It's a live feed camera. So we just shot it. So it was good that we had cable journalism at a very high level.
Far be it from maybe privy information from Cardinals clubhouses to sometimes slide out into the public space. I loved Albert's speech. I thought it was genuine. That's the kind of thing I want to hear. I want to hear my 42-year-old first baseman.
You can say 42-year-old.
to tell the truth and to tell the young guys what they need to hear. Yeah, man, it's good for us to get the money. But the winning is just as important. I'm paraphrasing.
No,
I thought it was a great speech, though. I loved it. I loved the authenticity.
It would have been funny though. Hey, we got the money, the cars, the girls. Hey, but it's all about winning, all right?
If he went full Razor Ramon,
we're in the wild card, baby. Cam, I have to say, Cam over the last 3 years has kind of worn me down on the celebration thing. He's anti-baseball celebrations in the fact that I think he believes there's too many. And I'm starting to agree with him. And I don't want to sound like I'm a curmudgeon.
You're becoming a Camite.
Well,
You're a lemming. You're a Cam lemming.
No, I think we get to a point, though, in the last couple of years when you celebrate making the wild card game and then you celebrate winning the wild card game. I do think, look, after a grind of 162, you absolutely should celebrate 100%. I think it would probably make more sense you celebrate once to get in the playoffs and then you celebrate winning the World Series. But I'm not going to complain too much because it is fun to watch.
Okay,
with all the bottles and all that.
If you're a big soccer fan, which I am, of course, especially women's soccer.
Mm-hmm.
So with Cam, I get it because for hockey guys, let's be honest. Like, I'm not saying it's any tougher than advancing in baseball. Like, to get to the championship round of any professional sport is a gauntlet. But the amount of physical abuse that teams go through in the Stanley Cup playoffs, right? I mean, you don't know how these guys are still walking when they get to the Stanley Cup finals. So I get the difference from his perspective. And we have seen in baseball where there's like a toast and a low-key celebration. We've seen a little of that, but they told me before that they're going to just let it fly after clinching the Central. And
they should.
And there was also that big confusion, like the magic number is 3, but
I was lost on that. I'm still don't think I'm 100% clear on what happened.
Can we do this? I know we clinched.
Okay, guys. A couple weeks ago they gave the West to the Dodgers a day early. I said you could have gave it to them 2 months ago. We would have been fine. But this one, all right, guys, actually take the shirts off. Cat, sorry about the slicker. You got to win tomorrow night still.
But look, that speaks to the fact that nobody knows the rules. If they're giving the Dodgers the division early, that means that nobody actually knows the stipulations for the tiebreak. Because I had to do the same thing. Magic number's 3. How can they clinch? I'm looking it up, and I don't even care anymore. It's just like the Cardinals were to a point where you weren't worried about it. They were going to clinch.
Right.
But you started to do the whole magic number thing, and I was like, you know what? If they're popping bottles,
I'll go with it.
I'll take their word for it.
No, but that was like a weird thing because we had been following the magic number. You look on Twitter, people are putting Cardinal jersey numbers for the great countdown for the magic number, getting smaller and smaller along the way. And then it's like, if they win tomorrow, they clinch. Well, wait, though.
If I'm in Milwaukee right now, I'm counting ballots. We've got to go in here. We've got to sort this out. They stole the Central from us, and we want it back.
Putin did it.
Even though, as we want to annex the NL Central back into Milwaukee, even though we're 6.5 games out. The Cardinals better get it together. The clinch division that they got is starting to slip out of their reach. That was a journey that definitely would have been aided by drugs.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. Yep. I'm excited, though. I'm excited for baseball playoffs. As I got into the car this morning, it's cold. It feels like the crisp October weather where the Cardinals oftentimes do some very, very special things, and they certainly have the chance. It's going to be difficult, but I would not count out the Cardinals to make a long run, and I hope they do, and it should be fun.
One of the big storylines, obviously, little pieces of history with Albert and Yachty and Waino and the goodbye tour for Yachty and Albert. But I actually think it's going to be a huge plus this weekend, right? So you got the Pirates. Pirates are awful. Whoa. You already clinched the NL Central. But there's going to be a ton of energy at the ballpark because that place is going to be packed because it's the goodbye weekend for those guys. I think there's energy to be had from that trickles down to the players. And I think it's going to be cool. On Sunday, they're going to have, official ceremonies. And by the way, Bally Sports Midwest, I think it's Friday when it's going to be out there, but 2 giant thank you notes that fans could sign.
No.
That's cool.
Well, isn't that cool? Like 7-foot things that people can go and sign thank you to Albert and Yachty.
Who do I need to write I will protest if it takes doing that. Just can retire their numbers on Sunday. I just want to get it out the way. Let's just make it done.
I think if you lodge a complaint with Charlie, he can on his text with those guys.
So I come to Cam to get people traded. So, Charlie, I come to you to get people's numbers retired.
Well, here's where I disagree with you.
Okay.
I agree with you in spirit. However, these are business folks.
Okay.
You need another day to market.
Okay.
Okay, so you already have everything going on with the final game, this and that, but then you bring them back. Now, for numbers retired, do you have to wait like the Hall of Fame for that? Could you do it whenever you wanted? Could you do it next year? The Cardinals could probably do whatever they want.
I think they can do whatever they want if you tell them they can, Charlie. That's why I'm coming to you.
But I'm saying somebody who knows
their official policy is that they do not retire numbers for anybody that's not in Cooperstown. That's
so
why. That's
you
why
wait 5 years.
Yeah, so that's why they retired Simmons last year because he wasn't in Cooperstown yet. However, sometimes you see things get done by acclamation as well.
And once you have a system to properly monetize it, then you're green light.
As I go onto the website and I see bobblehead this weekend that's coming up. Now I'm not going to advertise them because that's not my job here. My job is to do whatever seat I'm sitting in. But I do understand. Let me put that on the back burner. It's not like they're going to issue it on accident next spring or anything anyway. So.
Right, I think this is the weekend where they're giving like the 3-part bobblehead.
There's a Wainwright Molina bobblehead coming up, and then there's a canvas print.
No, I thought there was. I
think they did the other one.
The pool holes, and they all fit together.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
And we've talked about this because they do advertise the Cardinals, but the giveaways are unbelievable.
Yeah,
and to have the end of the season where you're giving away that kind of stuff, where you're going to have big crowds anyway, it's pretty cool.
This canvas print is all right. It's a picture of Waino and Yachty walking out of the bullpen to get ready for a start. I'd love to get one of these commissioned for me, a one of one, of you and Seth walking into the studio here to get ready for the show in the morning. That would be special for me.
The battery.
Yeah.
Yeah, except I'm in here way before Seth.
Yeah.
We got 10 minutes to do this.
And so Yachty's basically, you're standing on the mound waiting on Yachty to get to the ballpark.
I'm at my seat, and he comes stumbling in about 3 minutes before airtime. So that would be a tough print to make.
So who's Yachty and Waino in that situation then? Who's showing up late of the two?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say that Cat's the one that's pitching here, and then he's just taking whatever comes across the thing.
I'm
in my hometown. Cam
and I sitting here at 6:15 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's a good one.
That's because you guys are the pros.
No, I'm old. I don't even take it as, look at me, I get here early because I'm a professional.
You mention it a lot.
I got to wake up. No, I just got to wake up.
But, okay, now I'm not chirping you for this.
You go ahead and chirp.
No, I think this isn't interesting, but it's a debate. Don't you think you can wake up at home? For example, I wake up at 5:58, immediately walk to the kitchen where I have my really loud annoying alarm. That's the one that'll wake up the whole house. So I know when 5:58 hits on my phone, I have to get up. Otherwise, I will wake up wife and children. Everybody will be mad. So I have to get up, walk about 20 feet, 30 feet, whatever it is, to the kitchen. At that point, I'm up. I'm not going back to bed. I start the coffee. I start the process of waking up at 5:58, and I use the next, let's say, 47 minutes at home to wake up, drink coffee, fiddling around on my phone, checking some Twitter, checking some news.
I think I'm going to wake someone up if I'm looking at videos or maybe the dog. I just feel like probably best to do it here where it's quiet and I'm not going to bother anybody. That's the way I do it. But I need that extra time to wake up and clear the cobwebs because at my age, there's a lot of cobwebs.
I commend you I wouldn't have been able to get here if I got home at 2 o'clock.
I've been doing this for a long time.
I know.
So it's honestly like, I get up. It's like sometimes I don't need the alarm. Most times if I'm getting like under 3 hours of sleep or under 4 hours of sleep, I'm so worried about oversleeping.
You can't sleep anyway.
Yeah, and I don't even need the alarm. But I got a couple hours sleep today, and the alarm actually went off. But once I hear it, and here's the other thing. Like, I like doing this show, so it's not like I'm going to go carry rocks, for 12 hours in the heat. Like, it's once you're up, it's kind of a fun show to do, so it's not like I'm dreading it. So.
Kind of fun. Isn't it very fun?
Yeah.
You having fun right now?
I'm having fun right now.
Yeah.
I think this show's good, and I think it's fun.
All right.
Oh, clip that off. Clip that off.
Look
We
at
need
Seth
that
running
forever.
point.
Well, Seth's the Cal Ripken of the show. We talked about that yesterday. Now, Cat's back now, so now you can figure out about trying to get your PTO approved, too. So I'm excited for everything we can get accomplished today.
I was wondering now, we shouldn't chirp Nate because we love him. He's been late a couple times. What happened?
We chirp everybody, though.
I know. That's
Equally.
why I'm doing it. But, like, when I'm away, it's for work, right? That's kind of part of my deal. Like, that was, it's always a drawback when you're trying to do a full-time. I get that. It's a pain to you guys. I get that. But that's I've been doing that,
Cat,
for years.
How dare you? You think that would be a pain for either Charlie or myself?
I'm like, no offense. Like I'm not here and you guys, it's like you three. So my point is, I think Nate leads the league in vacation time, though, right? I don't even think it's close.
How strong you want to come at it, guy?
Pretty strong.
I'm not going to say to be fair because I say that too much, even though I just did, because the text line has been criticizing me for that. Nate has been doing high noon from the Comrex live from, I believe, Colorado.
So let me ask you this, Charlie. You have a vast amount of experience as a radio broadcaster.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Been fired a lot.
Are you saying that his particular show that he hosts is much more important than his role as producer of the morning show at the same station?
I think if you are carrying and running point on a show where you got the Comrex and you're there, you're hosting, like it would be difficult for him basically live via satellite to be the producer where if there's 3 or 4 other people talking, you're from a different location trying to kind of jump in. What do you think?
Yeah, I get it. I just like to give him a hard time.
Oh, me too. I get it. No, I get it.
But is it fair to say he leads the league in vacation time?
He seems to have a lot of fun.
Which is
cool places.
Right, which makes me angry.
I'm happy for him.
Jealous? Maybe I'm a little jealous.
Yeah. Here's my deal. I've said this a million times. Everything I say usually roundabout way, I say that to hopefully benefit myself in the future.
Sure.
So I always want everyone, and I mean this, I want everyone to take as much vacation as possible, and I'm not going to give them a hard time because I also want to take as much vacation as possible.
All right, I think that's a valid point.
And I might have one coming up that's right during the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. I understand this. I also kind of take a page from that because I think, you're away. Don't take the Comrex. You don't need to do that. Because I don't want to do that when I'm on the road with the Cardinals.
No, I get that. And you have late nights. The fact that you come in this morning after getting home at 2, I commend you. And again, this isn't interesting.
That's part of the deal.
But this is part of my strategy. When I was in Michigan a couple weeks back, I 100%, I actually made sure I had a separate room that I could do the show where I wouldn't have 4-year-olds and babies crying. So my goal was to do the show Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I wanted to do that also to get me some poker chips for later when I really could take a vacation where I wasn't on the show. But then Cam said, no, you don't really have to be on. So Cam kind of ruined my plot to basically be good early to be bad late.
So this is the radio version of putting a Ukrainian flag on your Twitter account. It was virtue signaling for the hope that virtue would be rewarded down the road.
No, because I think virtue signaling is fake. I was going to do the show Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for 3 hours every single day. I was going to put in the time.
But here's why it's fake. Yes, you would have put in the work, but you were only doing it for a benefit down the road, not as a team guy, which is sort of how you have to wrap it.
I am a team guy, but if you really want to get into the nuts and bolts of this, everything in life is transactional. I love all of you guys, but really, we all trade our time for money. That's what we all do. I hate to break it down to that, but that's what we're doing when we work. Am I wrong? We trade our time for money to pay for the things we need for our families, ourselves, rent and mortgages and cars and food and shelter.
I'll let you in on a little secret. I don't draw financial compensation from Bally's as a sideline reporter. I do it for the love of sport.
Really?
I do it because I thought to myself, Cardinal fans need to find out about the personalities of these guys.
I think we wouldn't know about birthdays if we didn't have Cat, so here we are.
I would like to virtue signal here. Yeah, I was just doing that. Yeah, Twitter. I'm still mad because one of the things that Charlie has had a positive impact on me, and in a way, it kind of frustrates me. He's like, yeah, I don't do Twitter because I don't make any money off that. And here I am doing Twitter and not making money off that.
I throw a tweet out. I threw one yesterday.
I wish you'd do more because you're fun.
It was a funny tweet I thought about my daughter. I threw it out there yesterday.
I always try to like your tweets as to encourage you to tweet more. But if there was a way to monetize, I was thinking, Charlie, if during the playoffs, I don't even know how to monetize. Can you monetize TikTok or not really?
I think these kids, I think TikTok is the social media that really goes viral. It can kind of create a sensation quickly. But I think then you have to have a brand deal. You have to get a sponsor, maybe. Am I wrong there?
I was thinking of during the postseason where it's not as much labor intense for me. Like a lot of times, like the stuff I should be tweeting, newsy stuff, information that I might have gotten first, I don't even tweet it because on busy days, like I got to put my ducks in a row for the pregame show. But postseason, we're not doing pregame. So I can joke around with some players in the dugout. And I was thinking, what if every game in the postseason I did something dumb for TikTok? I think it could take off with a player.
100%.
You know?
Quick little 45 seconds, minute.
I mean, I
like I could get, guys to do like dump water on me.
I once did
or whatever, or just do a stupid little movement together in sync. If I did one dance a day on TikTok, that's it.
I once did a headfirst slide stadium, so far be it from me.
When was this?
Well, these are the things that we do for our loved ones. They had my wife entered me into like a wedding gift contest in the Post-Dispatch or whatever. People voted for us, and we won it.
You did?
So, yeah.
Nice.
So we were one of like the 8 people they brought in, couples we brought in there. Couples, I'm going to say loosely.
What does that mean?
The husbands had to all run at a cake full speed to try to pull a coupon out for a free wedding item or something or another. This is a really bad idea to have 8 people running at a wedding cake full speed at the same time.
At the same cake?
Yeah,
real
at the same cake. Yeah, real cake.
Could you eat it afterwards?
You could, but
you could crack a skull.
Yeah, I stayed out of that part. So I let there's one other guy that figured it out with me. 6 of them ran at the thing, went crazy for it. I said, well, there's 8 gifts in there. I'll just get what's left. We're all walking away with something. So I walked over there, played it up a little bit, put a little cake on my shirt. It wasn't getting my hair messed up. But went in there and pulled it out, and we got a free videographer for the wedding. Had it on the screen and everything.
That's cool.
I texted Fredrickson and Hawkman and all them and said, I'm right outside the press booth right now about to make a fool out of myself. So
I wish I would have seen that.
Yeah. It was yeah.
And you got a free videographer.
Yeah,
that's a nice savings.
Great gift.
We got a whole thing, yeah. Yeah. So with that being said, Kat, I got no shortage of ideas about how you can cash in on this from personal experience.
I was thinking of doing that. My kid would have to set up my account. Like, I didn't even set up my own Twitter account back in the day. Someone at Fox, one of the producers, did for me. My kid would have to set up my TikTok for me because I'm an old.
I'm going to give you a hot take.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm pretty savvy with technology and editing and whatnot. I have an editing program right here on my laptop. I went to TikTok and I created an account just to check it out. I looked at the interface, whatever you want to call it, and I have no idea what to do. I don't even know how to start a video. I don't know, can I plug my own video in there? Like, I looked at it, and I feel like I do this stuff on a daily basis.
You're the most knowledgeable person at this that I know.
But I was pretty confused as to how I even create a video. Now, maybe I'm dumb. Maybe I didn't look
My kid can do it
hard enough. Yeah, I'm sure I could figure it out, but I looked at it, and it didn't seem like it was real easy.
But someone else was telling me that TikTok, like if it's related to like Cardinal baseball, their algorithms will just send it out to people. Like that's what they say. The thing about TikTok that's different than others is that they send your content if it matches an interest of someone else. So even if you don't have any followers, next thing you know, boom, it's in front of like a ton of people. So that's why I thought it might work if I could figure it out. I don't. By the way, Kisner has homered in back-to-back games, had 2 hits yesterday, and let's face it, Hot Take Central has carried him through.
Without a doubt. There's been no doubt about it.
I like to see him succeed.
He's a good dude. And you know what? Like, if you look at the metrics and stuff, like they say, pitch framing, not his strength. Obviously, he's a guy who hit in the minor leagues. It's been kind of a down year for him offensively. But overall, I think he brings something to the table outside of just his appearances on Hot Take Central, because he's a really good dude. And here's the other thing, like, the players love him too. And the pitchers go to him for stuff too, even when he's not starting, because he does work his tail off to make sure he's got all the video and scouting and stuff like that for the pitchers.
To me, a pitch framing is something that you can work on and you can get there. Hitting is one of the things you can do that too, but you need a little bit of talent to come to the table with that. I think hey, why not? Keep getting better.